Information this morning from Cabinet that ministers have now reached what appear to be several agreements on the budget, and that the Finance Minister, Newzroom Afrika is now being asked to draw up a final document to present to Parliament next week. But now, the SA Local Government Association is suggesting that the electricity and water you pay for through councils should be exempt from VAT. In the previous budget, that government was going to increase VAT by 2 percentage points. Sabelo Gwala is the Operations Director for the South African Local Government Association in KwaZulu-Natal. Sabelo, good morning to you. Good to talk to you again. What are you suggesting with regard to VAT for water and electricity?
Thank you very much, Stephen, and let me greet your audience as well, and also pass our sympathies to the families who have experienced flooding and loss of property and so forth, and loss of life as well. With regards to the VAT proposal, and this is a proposal that the KZN Association is making based on the fact that when we buy bulk water, there is a VAT charge on it. And that is where we are asking that if this were to be removed, it would bring an immediate relief to consumers of water. It would allow for municipalities to have a less burden when it comes to processing VAT rebates and so forth. It would, it's to a large degree, deal with an immediate challenge, which is government facing an economy that is not growing. And that is the first proposal that we're making. But there is a second one where we are saying we recognize that government has got to find revenue in order to continue with its many important programs, which we must never compromise on. Therefore, it's important that some of the luxury goods are not charged the same as those which are considered to be essential goods. So essentially, if I buy a piece of clothing, I pay the same VAT regardless of whether it's a luxury good or not. Similar, if I buy a luxury car, it's similar. I pay the same VAT as somebody who would be paying for an essential good. So it's not enough to simply increase the number of goods that are zero rated. We have to look at this option as well.
Okay, so if you suggest then that people don't pay VAT for water and electricity, and I agree they're an essential good for everybody, would it mean everybody doesn't pay? Whether you're rich or poor, you don't pay VAT on water and electricity?
Well, that is the easiest way to administer what we're talking about. And it's the fastest way to bring an immediate relief. Remember also, a VAT charge on water can be compensated with other goods, which will, if they increase in terms of how much you charge. To isolate the rich and poor in terms of this would happen naturally, because those who consume more water naturally pay more for it, because it's already built into how municipalities structure their tariffs and so forth. So that would already be catered for. So you wouldn't get a great equalization, but to treat everyone the same in terms of VAT keeps the playing field pretty much as it was before.
Okay, but I mean that the extra money to make up for the loss in this revenue would have to come from somewhere. And the maths of working that out, so say you were to, I don't know, increase VAT on suits or fancy pens or cars or something, it would actually probably take a little while to work that out. We couldn't do that now, and you might not be certain of getting the same amount of revenue in, because VAT is applied to everybody and you know exactly how much you're going to get from lights and water. You could probably almost predict it to the year, but you can't really do the same on other goods.
Well, look at the benefits though of that, because you know when the first term first came up of sin taxes, it wasn't very well known, but it became known which goods are part of the sin tax, and those goods have changed over time. Certain plastics have been added, or other alcohols and forms of cigarettes have been added. So you could look at this in the immediate term as to do I go for 2% or so forth, but it gives you so much leeway down the line to control how much of certain luxury goods and sin taxes you actually are charging. The fact that I pay the same amount of VAT on alcohol as I would for an essential good like water, for an example, surely there would be a political will to look at this issue, and that's what we are essentially calling for.
Sure. Okay. There are other conversations, Sabelo, around the financing and local government at the moment. So the finance minister has, if I remember correctly, confirmed something that the cooperative governance minister said over the Christmas period, that the financing formula for local government needs to change. Are you expecting local government to get more money from national government when this process is completed, from the fiscus?
Look, local government currently gets only 9% of equitable share from nationally collected revenues or taxes. That is woefully low, considering the move local government has done to take over a lot of the functions that we see today. Your previous speaker spoke of housing and many other functions that local government now does. But nonetheless, to debate about whether the 9% increases or not is not really going to change much unless South Africa grows its economy. And national government, we must be sympathetic to national government, because we can't be sitting with a budget deficit consecutively for close to 14 years or even more. We can't sit with that situation and not try to correct it. So we can't only talk about which with zero rating. We must also volunteer certain programs. And I think SALGA's proposal balances the two in saying, the South African economy has changed. A lot of luxury goods are consumed in South Africa, where there's an opportunity to get more revenue for government. And we are certainly not shy in saying those goods should be taxed. And the revenue review for local government, surely, yes, is about new money into the sector, but that won't be enough, and it won't be substantial in an economy that is not growing. So we've all got to put our shoulder to the wheel in growing the South African economy. And I'm sure you've seen the efforts in KwaZulu-Natal around fighting crime and growing investments. They are leaning towards this very outcome.
Sabelo, we've also seen in KwaZulu-Natal how councils waste money. eThekwini is a disaster. It can't even account for some of the money it has. You'll know what the residents' associations have said. We know about the corruption trial involving the former mayor Zandile Gumede that's underway at the moment. Umsunduzi spent millions on a football team that can't even compete in the PSL because SARS has confirmed what we already know about the tax status of its owner. You know which football team I'm talking about, I'm sure. Let me put it to you bluntly, Sabelo. Why should anyone ever give any more councils money when they so obviously and utterly waste the money they already get?
Well, firstly, if you were to look at just audit outcomes alone, you would immediately realize that we've moved from having one municipality with a clean audit to well over 5, and almost the majority of municipalities having unqualified audits. That shows you that the landscape has shifted, and the narrative, which used to be one of woeful wastage or whatever, the narrative you've just given now.
I'm sorry, Sabelo. Governance is about far more than just clean audits. Look at the lived experience of people in Umsunduzi. Look at the lived experience of people in eThekwini. You cannot tell me these councils are spending their money properly. Please don't insult me by saying that.
You are privy to the same reports I am, and those reports are very clear in giving a balanced view. There are many areas where municipalities do woefully bad, and we've been the first to call for interventions in those areas to say, government, please support these municipalities. Just yesterday, there was a report in this very platform where there was a discussion about eThekwini underspending on certain funding. And we were quick to say, this is a situation where government needs to avail new capacity for the municipality to spend this money. And that's the only way, because South Africa has invested so much in getting municipalities to be where they are, and getting municipalities, by the way, to perform at a decent level. And if we want to get more out of this, we can't keep burdening municipalities with more responsibilities while keeping equitable share at 9%. Sooner or later, the system will crumble. You will just not have enough of the people you need for you to comply with the many laws that we have to comply with. Because local government is a highly legislated sector, easy to audit and found some fault because every department regulates at a local level. So South Africa's system depends on municipalities. And even if I were to agree with you and your assessment partially, there is no need for us to abandon the idea of municipalities that work, because there are so many examples all over the country where things are going right and they need our shoulder to the wheel to get those processes to work properly and flourish.
Sabelo Gwala, thank you for answering my questions. I do appreciate it.